another Live at 5 here at the House of Blake YouTube channel. I'm Chris, welcome back, and then I've got Matt joining me for Q&A.
I'm Matt.
So give everybody a little rundown on what you do here and how you got started.
Oh yeah, so I started, so first and foremost, I was a customer of the House of Blake.
2 seconds. Alright, should be good to go now.
Can you hear us now? Yeah, the music.
Once I get a thumbs up, we'll move on. I don't know why that's lagging like that though. Alright, cool.
All right. I'm Matt. I'm the general manager here at the House of Blades. So Chris asked me how I got started here. It kind of is a long story. I'll make it real short though. I used to be a customer at the House of Blades when I was a young person, and I became friends with the owner along the way, and I ended up applying to come work here, and I've been here ever since. So.
It's a good way to get started, I guess.
Yeah.
You gotta have the inside track to work here.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're gonna respond to some questions that came in from everybody on Instagram. But obviously, if you have a question you want us to answer, you go ahead and drop it in the chat as well. But first one is why no Strider/Hinderer/Emerson in the shop?
Oh, okay. So the reason no Emerson, that's the easiest one. Emerson doesn't actually have dealers anymore. I don't think a lot of people know that. They are at the shows, they're active online, but from now, or as of like 3 years ago, you can only buy Emersons direct from Emerson or when they're exhibiting at a knife show.
Yeah.
Something similar with Strider too. Guys, I would love to carry Strider in the stores. It was one of my favorite brands that got me into the $300, $400, $500 knives. And something similar, I think Mick and his partner Dwayne had a falling out several years ago, and Mick or Strider Knives decided something similar like Emerson. They were just going to sell direct to consumers on their website. And besides that, going to knife shows is pretty much the only place you can get Striders. I think they do drops on Saturdays. They sell out really fast, of course. But yeah, we used to be a Strider dealer. I was really proud of that. It was one of the brands that I brought in. And yeah, I really wish that we were still a dealer for them. But we'll keep bugging them, and maybe one day down the road we'll have them back in the store. And Hinderer. So similar. We used to sell a lot of Hinderer, and then once we started carrying all their accessories, which they made a lot, they were making the investigator pins back in the day, beads, scales. That brand kind of just died out for us sales wise, and it seemed like one day Hinderers were really hard to get, and then the next day the market was flooded with them. So I think that had a lot to do with the Hinderer stuff.
Yeah, and I feel like that's like a thing with certain makers. So like either the market's oversaturated or the maker's doing so well on their own that unless they want to expand the brand out, like there's no reason to sell your knives to a dealer unless you're just trying to get that market share with other people. You know what I mean? Because they could drop it on Saturday, sell out 100% profit to them, and they're just as big.
Yeah.
So obviously with production and stuff like that, if they can't meet demand, then there's still no reason to bring on a dealer. So.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it is, I put myself in the shoes of knife companies sometimes, or custom knife makers, and sometimes I'm like, well, if your stuff's selling out so fast, what's the benefit of taking on a dealer? You're losing margins, you're having to share some of the profit with the dealer, but on the opposite side of that, it does make sense because, dealers selling your product to dealers gets your knives or products in the hands of more consumers. So, there's benefits to both sides, but.
Yeah. So that question was from Nick Merv, asking us about the Strider Hinderer. So hopefully we answered that and gave you guys some insight into why we don't have certain brands. But that's not to say that they won't eventually come. We're going to shout out Justin, Ohio, Barbarian Bronny, Sterling. Appreciate you guys showing up. And then Jack, favorite knife. You're going to tie into someone's question here, so I'll answer that in just a minute. But does HOB have an actual usable sword for Barbarian Brawny? We have like, what, 2?
Yeah, so we have 2. When you say like actual usable sword, we kind of break it down into 2 types of swords. One's fantasy, and that's a non-live edge sword, something that someone doesn't want to break the bank on, they just want to have a display. So those are more popular for us by a landslide. And then you have the battle, we call them battle ready swords. They have an edge on them, which I'm assuming you're mentioning by the actual usable sword. Unfortunately, those are really cool, but the cheapest one that I found as a buyer is like $400 to $500 retail. So at least for our customers, at least, that's kind of on the higher end price point. So we don't sell a ton of battle ready swords, but we do have about 3 different variations in stock.
So let's see. So jumping into the next one, Jackson, who we met in Blade Show Atlanta, the coolest kid in the world.
Oh yeah.
He asked us, "What's your favorite company to work with?"
Man, that's so easy. Cris Reeve Knives.
Yeah.
Everyone at Cris Reeve Knives has been like a pleasure to work with, and we can't expect people to be at companies forever, so it's not unusual that we get different point of contacts with the same manufacturer from time to time, and that's kind of the case with Cris Reeve. I've had about 3 different point of contacts in our years working with them, but they've all been really, really good people that know their industry and know their products really well, and I think it's just a great brand. So, yeah. And a close second would be Kershaw ZT. Really good brand to work with, and I think a lot of it's not just the brand. As a dealer, dealers have sales reps, so it's like the middleman liaison between a dealer and the brand. So if you have a good sales rep that can get your back, sometimes that makes a world of a difference dealing with a knife company.
Yeah, I would have a few, man, but obviously I think I would be a little biased, and I'd lean towards obviously the brands that I worked with to bring in here. Mm-hmm. So like the guys from Crispy Donut or Israel from over at Arcane. It's just cool, you talking to them and everything. You get to see them at the shows, and it's kind of like the rep. You build that relationship with them. So it's not just ordering knives from them. It's kind of shooting the things over here at the store, talking knives, personal interests and things like that. Mm-hmm. So I would say them. All right, so that was from Jackson. Next one is going to be from Dirty D, who's usually in here. He asks, what method does the store use to sharpen?
All right, that's a good question. So we use a 1x30 belt sander that was designed by my boss here at the House of Blades. And it was actually designed and machined in-house. And when I say in-house, the House of Blades has a sister company that's a machine shop, and that was one of the projects that they were working on. So it's a really cool machine. I think you can see a picture of it on our website, but that's what we use. People hear belt sander and they're like, oh my God, it's going to be taking off a lot of steel. And as a knife enthusiast, I totally feel you on that. So the goal for us when we sharpen a knife is to get it sharp, obviously, but maintain the life of that knife. So we are not back there with 220 grit belts just taking away steel. If anything, we will strop a knife if we don't think that it needs a full sharpening. Sometimes polishing it with a leather strops is all it needs. But the 1x30 belt sander that we use is really user-friendly. It kind of has to be that way since we have new hires that aren't always knife people. So something that's user-friendly for them, easy to teach, and that's what we have. We usually run about 1,000 grit belts on there. Once that burr comes up, we switch over to a leather belt with some green or red polishing compound to knock that burr off. Each knife we test, we make sure it slices through paper cleanly before we hand it back to the customer, and I think we got a really good process here.
Yeah, and it's easy. As someone that didn't know how to sharpen, he's been here for a few years and everything like that. I picked it up pretty quick after he trained me, and I don't think I've grinded anyone's knives down. I think I do pretty well sharpening back there. So it's a good system. We tested at 2 years? 2 years it was a prototype?
Yeah, I mean, it's not something that we, like, we designed and started selling to the public. It's like, we've had the prototypes that we're using, we've had for like 2 years, and we're really trying to figure out the downfalls and what's good about the sharpener and make tweaks, because we're thinking about making them available to the public.
What do you think we do, like, normally a sharpening a day? Like 180 knives?
Yeah, I would say,
It's kind of crazy.
yeah, over 100, probably closer to 150 on a Saturday, our busy day. But yeah, we do a ton of knife sharpening here. For those that don't know, any knife purchase, if you're a walk-in customer, we do our best to cater to our local customers. So any walk-in customer that comes to the House of Blades and purchases a knife, we sharpen free for as long as they own it. So we're doing a lot of sharpening all day, every day.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so looks like Jerry D asked the same question again, so I'm gonna skip past that one.
Bronny wants to know if any Zons are available. Man, I wish.
Yeah, we haven't gotten any notice yet from anyone. Usually, Chris Reed will send it about a week. They'll send us an invoice, letting us know that knives are on the way, and that's when we start planning the drops. We'll give everyone a heads up, obviously here on the live stream, and then post it on social media and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
H-Town fan, I guess this question is more for me. Why don't you go live when working people can join in? At 5, most people are driving home. I don't disagree with him 100%. I wish we could go live later, but unfortunately that would be from my house and not in the studio with all the equipment that we need. We do it because it's during working hours. That's when we're here. It's easy to set up. So it just kind of works in our benefit. And I know it sucks for most people, but I hope they would catch the rewatch. We did try and move the time, but the people that voted didn't show. So I'm gonna stay here with the loyal people that actually show up all the time. So, all right, next one, unless I'm missing something.
So I'm sending my Cris blade over to have sharpened.
Eddie in Martinez, I started a knife company. Will you be my dealer?
Man, I'm open, and I'm always open to new relationships. So email me some info, and we'll definitely look it over. Matt at houseofblades.com.
Yeah, we're always open to bring in new brands and stuff like that.
Yeah. Check
out new knives. So
I think at this point, we have a 5,000 square foot shop here in Fort Worth, Texas, and we have maximized every space in our store, so we're getting really close to running out of room. So we're going to have to do some new displays hopefully soon, just so we want to bring in more brands. And you all know as well as us that it seems like a knife brand's popping up every week, so
yeah.
it can be a bit challenging to keep up.
It's a lot to keep track of. Okay, so Susie asked, we're going to go ahead and throw hers in here. If y'all were a knife, which knife would you be and why? Not your favorite one.
If I was a knife, what knife would I be? Oh my God, I could pick like a million different things for a million different reasons. I would be a fixed blade, probably a Chris Reeve fixed blade, because it's simple, clean, no frills, and American made, and that's what I would want to be in a knife.
I don't even know what I would be. I'm like running through different knives.
I almost said Ultratech.
Man, I honestly don't know. It's kind of a tricky one. But
I want to change my answer. I want to be a tactile turn archer because I'm made in Texas.
There you go. That's what I was going to say. Man, you said made in America, so I was like, technically I'm Mexican, so I was like, let's go with the chocolate.
There's no Mexican knife. Oh, okay. Chocolate.
Made overseas, but designed by a Hispanic person. So we'll roll with that one. All right. So Signal Fire EDC asked, "What's been the favorite HOB exclusive for you?"
Oh man, we've had quite a bit.
So
I feel like
in the chat, if you have a favorite, go ahead and drop it down so we can see it.
Mm-hmm.
You've had more than me.
Yeah, we've had quite a bit, and just man, exclusives are so fun, but they are time consuming. I don't think most people realize the dialogue that a dealer and a manufacturer go through to nail down an exclusive. So like our titanium leak, I think it was in the works for over a year before it was ready to ship. So, and a lot of things changed in that year. So when you're doing exclusive, you kind of got to forecast for, is this going to be popular in a year, in a year and a half, and so on. But I think my favorite's an easy one. It was around when I first started here. Zero Tolerance had reached out to us. They just came out with the 777, which was a limited edition knife they did. Really cool knife. At the time, it was like nothing that the knife world's ever seen. And we have a really good relationship with the guys at ZT and Kershaw. So they offered us the 777 with a black DLC blade and M390 as our exclusive. And I think we got in 200 pieces and they all sold in under 5 minutes.
Yeah, that was pretty quick, right? So
yeah, it was insane. So that was my first taste of an exclusive that was spec'd out right, that had a lot of hype behind it. And there's not much more fun things being a dealer than seeing sales come in quick like that, because it validates that what you think's cool, other people think is cool too.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and that's what I was gonna say. For my time here, I think it was when you started including me in some of the decisions for the exclusives. So the two that I would have right out of the gate would be the Garage Built Gear pouch and the Cris Reeve. Like the small questions about adding the lanyard and stuff. I feel like it pulled the look together on those.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, just like you said, it's been a year that we were waiting for the leaks, and the Cris Reeve was like, it was a want and a dream beforehand. Before it even happened, we were on a list to possibly like make it happen. Mm-hmm. And that was still a maybe. And then when it finally happened, it still took like a year and a half.
Yeah.
So that was a lot of stuff that was up there. But yeah.
Jack said, you gonna have any Spyderco exclusives? So I think Chris had mentioned this in a previous live, but that's something we're currently working on. And not to give too much information away, but the dialogue on that was started, I want to say it's 2024. It's probably 2019 is when we started talking to Spyderco about that exclusive. And all I will tell you is that the steel that we chose to work with on this exclusive is a steel that's never been done in a production knife before. So that's really cool, and can't wait for it to arrive.
Yeah. But I see Susie saying hers was the Cris Reeve. Ruben's was the Copper Banter, which, speaking of which, that's another good one too. I mean, we really just like Ben, so when we did this one, it was cool.
Yeah.
I was like, on this one, the only decision I had was that thing right there.
Oh, the
we were
reversible
like,
pocket clip?
should we do it for left hands? So.
Yeah. That was the first Banter that came out with a lefty pocket clip carry option.
Yeah, and that's the whole reason we did it. But we made it massively heavy, so.
Yeah.
But yeah, on the Spyderco, hopefully that happens soon, or it's just kind of like something that'll pop up later.
What I found out is the more you inquire about these things, the longer it takes. So I'm just gonna sit back and, when it's getting close to getting ready, that's when the time is. So.
Yeah. Let's see. Bronny says, I've been upset with the water lines lately.
With the water lines lately that brands have been coming out with. Yeah. I just don't know.
Oh, so like the Salt and
maybe the
Benchmade,
the Dira.
Yeah, the mini Dira.
Yeah. I us being in Texas, like I had a gentleman come in yesterday and ask me if we sold dive knives, which we had like 3 in the store. So we try to carry a little bit of everything. Saltwater knives aren't super popular in our area, but I know that there's a market for them. So yeah, these companies aren't dumb. They see market shares in different parts of the industry, and they try to market towards those things.
Yeah. Well, and most of the the salt stuff like from Spyderco I've seen coming out in MagnaCut now, and same thing. The mini deer is MagnaCut, I believe, right?
Yeah, it's MagnaCut.
What about those fillet knives they're doing? Are those something different?
I think I feel like they're MagnaCut too, but I have a mini Adira and it's a cool little knife.
Yeah. Spyderco and Benchmade, also Quiet Carry has been.
Oh, Quiet Carry's come out with some saltwater knives.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like the water lines always, I'm always like, what are these companies thinking? Especially the smaller companies when they come out with something niche like a waterline knife. It's similar to like what I saw last year. A lot of the smaller knife makers or smaller companies were trying to get into kitchen cutlery. So, these pocket knife companies are coming out with chef's knives, paring knives, and I don't know how well that's going to do because the kitchen cutlery market's kind of cornered by Wusthof and Zwilling. So you're competing with them, and then the Japanese Shuns are really popular as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's like I just saw her question. Sorry, I was replying back to these things. So I think that was pretty much all the questions. There were some other ones that came through. So.
I thought they were going to ask, like, what's your dealer discount on Benchmade knives or something?
Unfortunately, there's some stuff that we're never going to be able to share. Some things that are in contracts, but we want to be as transparent as possible. Obviously, I would think that people, that we're a small knife business. We're not like a Blade HQ or something. Everyone's discount splits, things like that, are going to be different. And like you said, just depending on the market share that you own, things like that. So, Oh, dang! I didn't even see. I thought Suze's thing was just something random that popped up right there.
All right, you go first. German or Japanese kitchen knives?
I'm just gonna go with German because it's pretty much all I use. So I've been gifted a few knives over my time working here from Reps or Matt, and they've always been like Zwilling. Before that, I was using Victorinox whenever I was working at a hotel as a chef. I used the Fibrox line. So those knives pretty much got beaten up all the time. I did have a couple of forged steel ones, but I only busted those out, just as like a presentation kind of thing. If we were hosting like a big banquet event or like a wedding or something. Other than that, I just used the Fibrox line. And those just took a beating, thrown in the dishwasher, worst thing you could possibly do to a knife, but and I was using one of those pull-through sharpeners to sharpen it all the time.
Oh, yeah.
It took forever.
Sometimes I feel like you're doing more damage than good using a pull-through.
So it's before I knew anything, guys. But yeah, I would go ahead and say German. Yeah. I've never had a Japanese kitchen knife, so.
I remember being a kid and getting a pull-through sharpener and taking it home and like putting all my weight on the knife as I drug it. And I'm like, I feel like it's getting real sharp, and probably just ruined that blade.
Man, just putting a new edge on it.
I'm going to go with Japanese knives, and it's close. German knives are really nice. But Japanese, just because I'm vain and they look cool. So the only downside of the Japanese, they can be harder to take care of just because they got a lot of wood. The Damascus needs to be dry and oiled. But they just look so cool.
I feel like if you were to throw one of those in a dishwasher, and I've never had one, so I don't know, but if you accidentally let someone use it and they threw it in a dishwasher, it would just start immediately separating.
Oh yeah, probably.
It's like curling up or something. Wusthof makes Japanese chef's knives. Yeah. Oh, we know. Let's see. So, could HEB make their own knives in a few years?
That's the goal.
Yeah.
But that's something that we've talked about for a very long time, and we want to make knives for a couple of reasons, but I think one of the main reasons is we want to have our own knives so that we can dictate the pricing, who gets them, the market, where they're sold. I think that would be really cool and a fun challenge, and we have all the tools and resources to make it happen. It's just the time, and it's something that we're continuously working on.
Yeah, and it would be the first one, so obviously we're going to run into those I don't want to say pitfalls, but those challenges that you would see obviously making a knife, and you've never done it before. So Bronny's dropping his discount code, and he is right. If you guys want to get a discount on pretty much anything in your cart, there are some exceptions like Microtex, Chris Reeve, things like that, but you can use code Barbarian and save you some money. pick up a new knife for your collection. Let's see. Susie says, for your first EDC, would you recommend going all in to a top brand? I hate that little heart's right there. / expensive knife, or start somewhere else? Man. All right, so I'm just gonna answer real quick, and just off of my experience that I had going into it, starting, working over at the warehouse. I got a Benchmade grip. I wanted that knife because I thought it was expensive at the time, but obviously I had a discount code, working here and stuff like that. We had some training that we did, which helped me out. But then I just started the cycle of buying more and more expensive knives. Like, the price never went down. So I completely missed the entire budget knives. I never got to enjoy, I'm trying to think of, I never had a CRKT, a Kershaw before that. It was just Benchmade and then further up. So I would recommend starting somewhere else, maybe not a D2 CRKT, but just something reasonable. Like a Leak. I think a Leak kind of hits a price point, and still being American made, that kind of gives you that, like a good knife for a good price, and then you can determine whether you want to go lower or higher.
I think almost everyone that's getting into the knife game owes it to themselves to do a sub $100 knife, so that they can use it, enjoy it, and then when they have the itch for something nicer, they can see what the difference is. You can see what you're paying for. You can see why this knife's $300 versus $100 one you just bought. But what I wouldn't recommend doing is just buying budget knife after budget knife after budget knife after budget knife. Maybe get one or two, use them, have fun with them, and save up for a couple of months for a Sabenza or a ProTech or a nice Benchmade. And it's like the progression we see when new hires start. A new hire will start here, and let's say they have no background in knives. They'll start here, and then they'll buy a CRKT, and then a few weeks later, they're like, I need something a little nicer. Let me get this American-made Kershaw, and then I need a ZT, and before you know it, they're buying a Sabenza, or they're buying a Koenig, and it's only like if you could only go back and tell those people, hey, save your money now, because you're gonna end up wanting this later.
Yeah, and that's what I was like. I wouldn't recommend going crazy, just non-stop budget stuff. But buy what you like. You want a Civivi Elementum, you want a Naps Lander, you want a Koenig, mix them all up, build your collection. But I would definitely say don't just start buying expensive stuff. I know it looks cool, and that's the stuff that photographs really well on Instagram. But I would put the pause button on just going super crazy. But yeah, Sabenza, I don't think a Sabenza is unreasonable. And if you jump into some of the knife groups, you could probably get one for like $400.
Yeah, I've seen a couple for $330, $350.
And they warranty their knives, so you can send it back for a spot treatment and then get it back basically brand new. And they've got so much stuff out there that you can customize it with. I know you can't really change the scales, but you can add back spacers and stuff just to make that. Everyone's saying enjoy the budget, go lower. So yeah. I went the wrong way.
Hey,
100%.
You got to start somewhere.
Jumped into the. I wouldn't say I jumped into the deep end, but I definitely jumped past the little 5-foot area.
You jumped over the M-Tech.
Yeah.
So I want to say my first 6 knife purchases were mistakes. Looking back, knowing what I know now, I wish I could have done it over again. But now I appreciate the stuff I have even more.
Bronny says it's a rabbit hole. You're at the top of the ladders. It's hard to go down.
Yeah.
I 100% agree with that. Thank God I didn't jump to customs, because those would have definitely broken the bank. But it's like what people say. Once you rip that Band-Aid off and bind the Sabenza, it is kind of a slippery slope, because then you're just like, well, I already spent this. I can get another Sabenza. I can get another Nkosi. I can, afford all these other knives. Before you know it, it doesn't hurt. You're buying a bunch of expensive knives.
Yeah.
If you're new to EC knives, you got to find out what you like first before spending a ton of money.
Oh yeah, that's so true. That's where finding, and I know they're few and far between, but that's where finding a retail knife shop in your area where you can go hold things, check the action out, put them in your pocket, makes a huge difference. Besides, watching a YouTube video and then ordering blindly on a website and hoping it's what you're thinking it is. But I've ordered so many knives off of YouTube reviews that, I get in and I'm like, oh, this is totally not for me. It looked like it was for me, but pocket clip's too stiff. The action isn't how I want it. It's got blade play or just something that I can nitpick.
Yeah.
I will. So I do think that there's something to going and checking out stuff in person for sure.
Yeah, there was an old video that I saw on YouTube when I was like going down the rabbit hole trying to learn everything I could, and I know it was Ben that said it in the video, but it was just like don't just start buying everything. He's like, you really do need to learn what you want, because if you buy a knife and you immediately like want to say, oh, I want to put titanium scales, I want to change the thumb stud, I want to throw this lanyard on it, you're changing the knife so much that maybe that wasn't the right knife for you.
Yeah.
And I felt like that because I hated hinderers when I saw them. When I started working here, I didn't care for them. I saw him wicked at edging one probably 3-4 months later, and I fell in love with those knives. And the fact that you can just switch them out. I was changing so many things on those knives that I would go through like 18.
Yeah.
I went through 18 different hinderers. Yeah. So.
Dude, I think that's what set Hinderer apart from everyone else. It was like the first knife company that I can think of that was like, accessorize your knife.
Yeah.
It was like going to Nike.com and doing the custom shoes, yeah. And it's like
the Nike ID.
The fact that he thought of that when he did, and it just it's like, would there be a Flytanium brand if it wasn't for Hinderer? And seeing how popular that people like to customize their stuff. Yeah. It's really cool.
I think that's cool, and definitely like maybe if you've had the knife for a few years and you want to change it up. But I was like, if you're already going in to buy that knife to switch it, I feel like maybe something else might be a little bit better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then you buy a $150 bug out and you deck it out and it's as much as a Hinderer.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And it's like, then you could have just...
I've done that before.
Yeah, you could have just jumped on the Cris Reed train at that point.
Yeah.
But if you're, like Bronny's saying, you got to know what you want when you're jumping into it. Saved up for a pair of 3, love it. Haven't bought anything since. Man, yeah. Dude, I think the only Spyderco I've ever had was a pair of 3. I don't think I've had anything else.
I've had a bunch, but the pair of 3 was the one Spyderco, the first Spyderco that I carried for a long time. I think I carried a carbon fiber S90V pair of 3 for a year and a half, and it's one of my favorite knives. It's a really cool knife.
Yeah. And then Jack says, get whatever you want because no one actually cares what you have. That's true. I mean, I do look at Instagram and I'm like, man, I wish I had that knife.
Yeah, I think it's the opposite. I think people care a lot about what other people have.
You think so?
And and we all want to be like Jack and, do our best not to care what other people have. But it's, we're humans. We're easily influenced. So.
Yeah. You know what? Like, I see a Sabenza. We get them in all the time. Sometimes people just take such good photos. And I'm like, God, I want a Sabenza now. When I'm looking at it. So, yeah, I think it's easy to get influenced like you were saying. Mm-hmm. Susie says, or be like me and just get knives, but don't use them.
Use your hands.
Use your hands.
See, I buy knives, and to keep them in mint shape, I use Chris's knife if I need to cut open anything. I won't use my personal knife.
And I'm always using my stuff constantly. I was like, these things just have tape and stuff. I actually just cleaned this one off. So, but and I'm not afraid to just use it and then kind of move it on. Dang, I didn't realize there was a big scratch.
So Jack said, I have a couple $200 plus knives, but I still use my $80 Delica. And that's like something I think about internally all the time. And I think I've asked Cris this, and because it's like a conundrum that I've battled with for a long time. And it's, how do you find enjoyment from a budget knife after you've had a $200 knife, a Benchmade, a Microtech? You know that you really like those, you spent good money on them, but they're still good budget knives. So like, how do you find enjoyment in a pair of 3 when you also have a Koenig Arius? Because both are great knives, and I don't want to be that guy that's like, oh, I only carry high-end knives personally. I have budget knives too, and I really enjoy them. So
yeah, I agree with that so much, but also at the same time, like when I had the Koenig, when I had the Archer, I had 14, 15 knives, and I would intentionally be like, all right, this is my carry for the next day. I'm setting it up, and I'm like, I'm gonna carry this knife. I'm gonna leave the Archer at home, and then I would think about the Archer while I'm at work. I'm like, damn, I should have just brought the Archer.
Yeah.
So eventually, it just
but you're
became,
thinking about
that's what I
it
was
because
carrying.
a customer comes in, he's like, "What are you carrying?" And
Well,
you don't
yeah, I
want
was
to
like,
you don't want to pull out that.
And I'm just like, hey, I'm ready to flex on anybody that walks in here. You don't have an Archer. I got an Archer when there were less than 100 out in the world. So I mean, yeah, slightly a little bit of a flex, but you know, same thing with the Koenig. You know, I spent so much money on it. I was like, I have to carry this. Like, why spend this kind of money if you're not going to carry it, use it? You know. And I even sent him photos that I took at camping. I was cutting through all kinds of stuff. Hopefully the next person that got that isn't upset at all the scratches that they got. Yeah, Brownie, I'll send you all my knives. You can use them. I need to get another knife, but I think I'm holding off for a little bit. Save up and get one of those carbon Archers. All right, guys, we ran a little long. We're going to jump out of here. We don't have any more questions, but we will see you guys next Wednesday live at 5. And I don't know if I'm going to be interviewing someone else. Maybe I'll bring Susie. We've got a couple people in the store that want to jump on here. Yeah. And we can run through some stuff with them. So I'll ask around and see who wants to join me. Before we take off, Jack Jack says the Delica is perfect because it's thin, slicey, and it's Japanese made and it's customizable. The steel also holds a really good edge for the price.
Yeah.
You know, I run into that so much, and you see the amount of boxes that I cut open. Sometimes MagnaCut's really good, but then I'll try MagnaCut on something else. I'm like, man, it's really dull. I need to go sharpen it. So I feel like steel is so up in the air depending on the heat treat, who you're getting it from,
the angle. There's so many. Yeah, there's so many variables when it comes to all that. So.
Yeah. Let's see, what's the next knife in the list? I don't know yet, but I'll let you guys know. I'll think about it, and then I'll let you guys know on next live stream what my next knife purchase is going to be. Maybe you guys can help influence, or maybe I'll do a Benchmade and we can just build it on stream. How's that?
That'd be cool.
That'd be sick. Maybe.
Can we do that where you have the custom knife builder up and they can see it? And
Brownie, I need help. I'm gonna call you so that way you can help me do the dual thing.
Yeah,
and
that'd be
show
awesome.
everybody what's on screen. That'd be pretty cool.
So before we leave, Hinderer Collector jumped in. Yo, Cris and Matt. I think Hinderer Collector is Brant.
It's Brant. Yeah.
Brant. I hope you're doing good, man. I hope you have a good 4th of July. For those that don't know, Brant has been a long-time customer of mine. He has purchased tons of knives from us. Hinderers, you name it, he's bought it from us. And thanks for everything, Brant. We appreciate it, man.
Yeah, he wants to come on the show too. So at some point, maybe we need to work that out. And he comes on here. Brings his knife collection. We can show off all the Hinderers. But all right, guys, we'll catch you guys on the next one. Happy 4th of July. I hope you guys pop some fireworks and have some fun.